All right. What's up, everybody? We'll get started here in a moment. Happy Monday. Thank you for joining. It's good to see everybody. Sarah, what's going on? Middle-aged grind. Jose, Dutchman, Sean, this is Howdy from Colorado. Well, welcome to Park Avenue in New York City. Alexander M, Alan, this is busy day. Or Alan, this is busy day, I'm beat. Same here, man, same here. Jimmy, what's going on? Cheers. Lots of big movements in the market. Brian is here, what's going on? Get started in a moment. And I believe the hotel here, Four Seasons, is officially opened, which is pretty cool. I was walking past it today. So we'll see. We'll just do a quick double take right now. But I believe it is open. We're on the corner of East 57th Street and Park Avenue. Looking up at 432 Park. Lena Sandoval, Unit J23. What's going on? Esmeralda, always a pleasure. Stuart Evans. Hey, everybody. Some pretty notable movements in the market today. Troy Atman, what's going on? This is Tom. We should meet at a bar in New York City and watch the NVIDIA earnings on Wednesday. You know, it was funny. I think last time that NVIDIA reported earnings, people were actually going to bars in New York City and they were putting the NVIDIA earnings report or the conference call on the television sets at the bars. Now, is that a topping indicator for the market? Is that an irrational exuberance indicator? Maybe. I don't know, but it's kind of funny nonetheless. But yeah, it looks like it's now open for business again. Here we have some potential customers coming out of the Four Seasons. But pretty cool. It's awesome to see it open because this has been closed down pretty much since the pandemic. So to have it open for business again is awesome, to be honest. Pretty awesome. Sheila says, did you watch the Mike Tyson fight? I did watch the Mike Tyson fight, and I think the overall theme, or I should say the overall takeaway from the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight, not only did I enjoy watching Mike Tyson in the ring, but it really solidified my bull thesis on Netflix. It really, really did. After Netflix last earnings report, it gapped up into new all-time record high territory, and it really, really ran. I think Netflix today was up another 3%. And those are really those gap and go type of rallies. Netflix, you're kind of seeing it a little bit with Amazon as well. But Amazon, I mean, surprisingly, has been a little bit lackluster. On the back of Amazon's recent earnings report and Netflix's recent earnings report, I think you could have hit those two stocks into new all-time record highs. And potentially, just ride those all the way up. But Amazon has been a little bit lackluster, and Netflix has really been the one that's been performing. So we'll talk about it. Steph UF, it's good to see you. Orlando, this is hi all, good to see you. What's going on? Chris, cheers. Yeah, Stewart says Mike looked every bit of the 58 years old to me. Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. I didn't know that prior to the fight, Mike Tyson, I guess, apparently almost died and needed significant blood transfusions and the like. So, look, the guy's almost 60, and he's not your traditional 58-year-old, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. Right, Mike Tyson has been through a career of brutality. I mean, in terms of the fight business, taking blows after blows, that really adds up over the years, right? That really, really adds up. So for him to look that good, just to be able to step in the ring at 60 years old was quite encouraging. Anyway, we'll just do the quick audio and visual check. So if you guys are seeing the stream in 1080p, also if you guys can hear us, just go ahead and give a thumbs up in the chat and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm seeing some of the audience talk about IBIT, ticker symbol IBIT, which is the ETF for the iShares BlackRock Bitcoin ETF trust. Now, we have some pretty significant breaking news out of NASDAQ today. I'm not sure if anybody saw it. We'll talk about it. But NASDAQ said that as soon as tomorrow, we'll see if it comes to fruition, but as soon as tomorrow, you'll be able to have derivatives trading or options trading on the spot Bitcoin ETF, which is huge, which is absolutely huge. And I have a prediction. I think that the options market will be rather liquid, extremely, extremely liquid options market trading on those Bitcoin ETFs. Because right now, I mean, if you think about it, people who have been trading options, quote unquote, on Bitcoin are trading it on MicroStrategy to kind of get exposure to the asset and also use it as a hedge. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Oh, someone says we're buffering. How's the internet, by the way, right now, guys? Are we buffering? Is it too much of... Is the internet good? Maybe we'll have some internet issues today. I don't know. Anyway, I see DC is here. Andrew, what's going on, Andrew? Bruce K, Green, Ben, Cheers, NBA Elias, MD, what's going on? Michael G, Reggie 44. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is Monday. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful weekend. It's going to be a pretty busy and eventful week on Wall Street. As always, earnings season is finally coming to a close. Hopefully things will be able to die down a little bit. All of the major tech companies have reported earnings except our good friend Jensen over at NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is going to be reporting earnings this week. That's going to be a massive, massive market mover. Assuming, let's say NVIDIA, bombs earnings, I think the stock is going to be down significantly. But if they, obviously have a beat and raise in terms of their expectations, I think things will could be the market savior there, so to speak. Now, we're also going to get some housing data. I believe we are going to get existing home sales data from the National Association of Realtors. We briefly talked about some of the breaking news coming out of NASDAQ. NASDAQ is going to be able to trade Bitcoin options or potentially on IBIT, which is good. And a few other notable things I wanted to talk about too. Charles Honks. Tom, did you hear about the stabbing today in New York City? I did, unfortunately. That was really, really crazy, really wild. I think there was 4 separate incidents, but all of those incidents were involving the same guy or the same gentleman. Terrible. I think 2 people died, maybe a third may die in the hospital later tonight. But, like I told you guys, and I made a post about this last night on my X account, I mean, New York City is a great city. It's the greatest city in the world. We do have our problems. The biggest problem is with a lot of these mentally unstable and mentally ill homeless people that really don't know what they're doing, right, to be honest. They're so doped up on drugs. And kind of funny enough, the crazy thing is, we're looking at Steinway Tower, Central Park Tower, 157, some of the most, sought after and valuable real estate, not only in the city, but in the entire world, are right on Billionaires Row. The worst train station after 9 p.m. is the Billionaires Row train station right there on 57th Street. After 9 p.m., it turns into a complete fentanyl den. Everything you can imagine, the horrors, homelessness, sexual assault, people just shooting up. It's going right on Billionaires Row. It's just such a strange, almost dystopian-esque juxtaposition, because you have people that own, $100 million penthouses, and the train station that services those individuals after 9 p.m. turns into just an unbelievable. I don't even know how it's allowed to go on, but yeah, it's sad what happened, and it's kind of like playing Russian roulette, right? Because most times the crazy homeless people, they're not really going to do anything. They'll just kind of scream and LARP about of the city, but it's that 0.1% of the time, if you walk past them at the wrong place at the wrong time, they'll probably put a blade in your neck or something. But that's just what it is. That's what it is. And most of the time, they have significant prior arrests. So they'll be arrested, they'll be booked. But with the New York City, it's kind of like just a catch and release program. They just kind of let them out on the street. I'm not too sure if that was the situation with this particular incident today. I didn't really have enough time to look into it. But if I had to bet, I would say that the guy who killed 2 or 3 people this morning probably had some sort of a criminal record. Not sure. Again, I don't know if that's the case. But yeah, you just kind of have to really, really watch yourself all the time. Anyway, Nathan is here, says go to the Sherry Netherland lobby. I wish I could. This is one of my favorite buildings in the entire city. It's a beautiful, beautiful building. Mainly because Jesse Livermore, reminiscences of a stock operator, used to go here. Unfortunately, this is actually where he killed himself on Thanksgiving, in the cloakroom here. But that's one of the best, in my view, best trading and investing books of all time, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. We talked about some recent 13F filings from some major firms and funds that we always look at. Paul Tudor Jones, the legendary PTJ, speaking of the Sherry Netherland and Jesse Livermore. Rumor has it, if you want to work for Paul Tudor Jones at Tudor Investment Corp, before you start, you have to read Reminiscences cover to cover before you could actually run any money there. That's kind of what the rumor has it. And look at this Cybertruck. And according to Tudor Investments' 13F filing, he increased his stake in iBit, ticker symbol IBIT, which is the BlackRock iShares Bitcoin ETF. I believe the position now is around $185 million position for Tudor Investment Corp. So he's essentially laddering up into that position as Bitcoin breaks out of this, massive cup with handle base. Obviously, NASDAQ today announcing that as soon as tomorrow, perhaps, options trading, derivative trading will start to commence on iBit and other spot Bitcoin ETFs. So that's pretty exciting. We'll see if it really comes to fruition by tomorrow. Don't know if it'll happen, but according to the NASDAQ, that is what they're shooting for. The date should be for tomorrow. This is the main entrance for the residences at the Plaza Hotel. Hey, what's up, Dutchman? Good to see you. Brad's brain, what's going on? Cheers to you. David, welcome. Now, another big thing involving the Bitcoin ecosystem, I believe MicroStrategy, ticker symbol MSTR, which is now essentially just a Bitcoin treasury company. I believe they announced they've acquired over the weekend or potentially Friday. What was the exact amount? I think it was over $3 billion purchase again of Bitcoin. Essentially, they issue debt. They use the funds that are raised to go into the open market and buy Bitcoin. So it's a very interesting company. And now they own a boatload of Bitcoin over there at MicroStrategy. Now, speaking of the physical gold, as opposed to the digital gold, physical gold had a little bit of a rally today, which is good. I believe we're back over $2,600 an ounce. We've corrected some from the all-time record high in gold. We've come back down, undercut the 50-day moving average a little bit, but it seems like we're bouncing at least a little bit. But if we kind of review everything that we've been talking about over the past few months, if you look at our national debt, I think we're over $35 trillion now. If we do not do something about it, and if we don't take significant action, maybe we will, now that President-elect Trump has essentially created a new government entity called DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Will it do anything material? I think it's yet to be found. The bond market is not buying it as of yet, but pretty soon the vast majority of our income, right, if you think about the United States as a business, a lot, or I should say if we continue on the rate that we're continuing, the lion's share of the country's income is going to be used to pay off just the interest on our debt. And that's why I think you've been seeing assets like gold, silver, hard assets in general, and Bitcoin outperforming. And again, if you look at the bond market's kind of telling us that those particular assets will probably continue to outperform. I don't know, what do you guys think? Cynthia Ava is here, welcome. Cheers. Brad says tonight MicroStrategy is selling $2 billion in convertibles. So what was the exact amount of the Bitcoin purchase that they purchased over the weekend? Do you know the exact amount? I think it was in the billions. RJ says Olaf from Colorado. What's up, RJ? Cheers. Brad says don't understand Bitcoin, so I'll never touch it. I think that's a great strategy. If you don't understand it, you don't need to touch it. I mean, it's such a small asset class. I think Bitcoin in and of itself is like 1.5 trillion. So there's opportunities elsewhere in the market. If you don't understand it, might as well not even think about it. This is a beautiful shot at 50 Central Park South. This is, this is the Ritz-Carlton residences. It's kind of chilly out tonight anyway. Pineapple water, what's going on? Always a pleasure. NBA Elias, Brad's brain. Did you guys see that Japan's economy is starting to heat up again? I think we've now had 2 consecutive quarters of positive GDP growth for Japan. Now, we've spoken about Japan before. I think they are going to benefit a significant amount from this new bull market in global liquidity, is kind of what I'm calling it. So if everybody remembers back to that kind of pan sell-off that happened when everybody overnight became an expert on the yen carry trade, not sure if anybody remembers that. That seemed to have been a pretty good night to go long Japanese stocks. I think we'll probably see a new all-time record high for the Nikkei 225 index either by the end of this year or early Q1 of 2025. So something to keep an eye out on. I think for 2025, it's going to be very important to keep an eye out just Asia Pacific in general, right? It's going to be very interesting to see the growth in Asia in general. Now, we've talked about India. We've actually spent multiple live streams just kind of doing a deep dive into the Indian economy, the Indian stock market as a whole. The Indian equities are now kind of experiencing a little bit of a correction after just a monumental bull market. But what I think, and not to go off on too much of a tangent here, but what you can... hold on just 1 second. All right, sorry. But one thing I wanted to mention as it relates to India and China, when we talk about a lot of the geopolitical conflicts around the world, I should say one of the conflicts that is not very well publicized is the ongoing conflict and tensions between India and China, right? If you turn on the news, you always hear about, the war in Eastern Europe between Russia, Vladimir Putin, and Ukraine, Zelensky, right? We hear about that one almost to the point of ad nauseum. We hear about what's going on between Israel and Palestine, but very seldom do we hear, not only the economic conflicts and the competition between India and China, but also potential hot conflict over there. So, look, it's going to be very interesting to see the competition heat up over in Asia, and see how that differs from a Biden administration to now a new incoming Trump administration. Anybody have any thoughts on that? Just high-level thoughts. Maybe somebody here is from India, or you guys cover Indian equities, or just what your overall thoughts on the Indian economy as a whole. Stance is Tom not to mention India versus Pakistan. Harry says we should pay off our national debt with Bitcoin in the future. Well, it may sound crazy, but supposedly what's going to happen, and this hasn't been confirmed, right? So we can't say with 100% conclusivity, but the Trump administration is talking about some sort of Bitcoin treasury reserve. So like a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the United States. Do I think that's going to happen? I'm going to throw it up to like maybe a 75% likelihood. It really just depends on the specific appointments that Trump decides to make. We talked about the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, Howard Lutnick. If Howard Lutnick is involved, I would say that probability moves up from 75% to maybe about 90%. But, everything is very fluid, and I don't think we know for sure. So if you look very close in the distance, you can see all the Christmas lights on in the Deutsche Bank Center. Kevin says, until they get federal spending under control, you're never going to do anything in this country to straighten up the mess. I mean, it's a really good point by Kevin. It's a really, really good point. We know that the spending is unsustainable. We know this. I think our national debt now is $35 trillion. And if we don't do something to rein in the spending, it's going to be a big problem. Now, to kind of be fair and balanced here, and I've said this over and over again, as we're looking at the facade of 220 Central Park South, and it's not just me, it's the market, right? And it's really the bond market telling us this. regardless of who would have been elected, right? We obviously know that it's President-elect Trump, but if the people of the U.S. elected Harris and that administration, there was zero confidence, at least in the bond market, to say we're going to do anything material as it relates to cutting spending, right? Or forcing Congress to take out the credit card, cut it up, and throw it away. That's kind of why you see the bond market selling off significantly. You see yields rising across the curve. You see gold, right, went on its big run over 1900, I think trading at an intermediate term top of $2,700 an ounce of gold. We've since corrected a little bit, but we're now on our way back up. And you see Bitcoin, I think now at like $89,000, or whatever Bitcoin is right now. Could be 90,000, right as we're doing the stream. So I think Kevin is right. We need to really get things under control. Maybe the Department of Government Efficiency is going to do that, but it is yet to be seen. It is yet to be seen. Chloe says 91K. Give or take a few thousand. Jay says, Tom, if Bitcoin staking was fully insured by the FDIC, would you consider staking to earn a passive income in the form of fiat? Well, I think the biggest thing as it relates to that is the SOB 121 ruling by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So what I believe will happen, and again, I just sent out our investing newsletter where I wrote a little bit of a piece on this. There was like a small excerpt in the newsletter covering this particular SEC ruling. It's called SOB 121. And essentially, it has to do with, are banks able to custody Bitcoin? And with the SOB 121 rule, it makes it very, very cumbersome and laborious. Essentially, they have to mark that on the balance sheet, but any other asset that a bank custodies, they don't. So once that rule goes away, which, assuming that Gary Gensler is out of there, right? I think, I believe his term is until 2026, but Gary Gensler has hinted about stepping down. Nothing is finalized yet. I really do believe that President Trump is not going to want a Gary Gensler to stick around, so maybe we have a new SEC chair. Once we have a pro-Bitcoin, or I should just say pro-markets, SEC chair, that SOB 121 rule will go away, which will allow banks to easily custody Bitcoin. Now, what's going to happen there? Well, banks want to make money. They're in the business of making money. So regardless of what Jamie Dimon has said, he doesn't like Bitcoin, he thinks it's a Ponzi scheme, he thinks it sucks, whatever. If Jamie Dimon's competitor, Brian Moynihan over at Bank of America, or David Solomon over at Goldman Sachs, starts to have a huge custody business, starts to, issue yield on customers' Bitcoin, starts to collateralize the asset, right, issuing loans, again, backed by Bitcoin, you don't think other banks are going to be forced to do the same thing just to compete in the space? So I think they will. But that's not going to be like a thing that happens in a year. That may be like a 3 to 5 year thing. But still, that is what's going to, in my view, really fuel and fan the flames of institutional adoption. But you need the appropriate regulatory hurdles to go away. Last thing I'll say about that, there was I think this was from Barron's. Don't quote me on this, but I believe this was a survey of financial advisors across the United States put on by Barron's. And essentially what the question is what is the number one reason why you as a financial advisor are not advising or allocating client resources to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin? And the overwhelming number one answer was a lack of clear regulatory framework, which makes sense, right? There's a lot of liability there. And if you don't have clear regulatory framework, clear-cut guidelines on what you can and can't do, well, a lot of financial advisors are going to be a little bit reluctant to advise one way or the other. So, just kind of plug in the equation there. If we are going to get a better SEC chair that's going to bring about solid, clear, and concise regulatory framework for this asset, well, what do you think is going to happen? All right, guys, this is the Deutsche Bank Center. And it looks like they just put up their Christmas lights in here. We'll try to go in real quick just to give you guys a peek in there, but it looks beautiful. This used to be the Time Warner Center, by the way. Hang with Mark Moms, his fear of money laundering as well. Brad's Brains says, why do you think it will take as long as 3 years for Saab 121 to be pulled? I think it will happen much sooner. Well, I mean, maybe it will, but, things don't usually tend to not work that way. Maybe you're right. Maybe it'll be, an immediate thing. But I think realistically, if you're going to get rid of it, you're going to have to provide some sort of other framework, right? A clear set of guidelines. And I don't know if they're going to be able to rip and replace that within a few months. But maybe. I mean, we'll see. You never know. Hey, what's up, Andrew? I mean, what do you guys think more broadly speaking? This is the Jazz at Lincoln Center. Professor Dario is joining us. Good to see you, the Forlorn Wanderer. This is good evening. Good evening to you, too. Welcome to West 60th Street. You're looking at 1 Central Park West. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower here. And then you're also looking at 15 Central Park West, right here. Steph UFs is very pretty. I went up to New York a week too early. Padilla, what's going on? Cheers. I'm going to try to get you guys in there. The security is going to kick us out, but I just want to quickly show you what some of the decorations are looking like. Yeah, I saw that. I saw the Google Chrome judgment. I don't think they're forced to sell Chrome. Or it was a recommendation that they should sell Chrome, or I didn't have a chance to read into the whole thing. I was just... All right, guys, what do you think? There's also a good spot in here called the Momofuku Noodle Bar. It's really good. Oh, wow, Stephen F. says, I went there on an anniversary. It was the best meal I've ever had. Wow. Yeah, it's still there. You know, there's, I don't know if it has a Michelin star, but there's a really good sushi place on the same floor. I believe it's called Bar Masa. Let me see if I could look it up. Hold on. It should show it here. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Bar Masa. So you have Ascent, you have the Porterhouse, which is like a steakhouse, Per Se, which is that Michelin star French restaurant, and then you have Masa, which is good. But the Momofuku Noodle Bar is pretty good. Let's see if we can head all the way to the Lotte New York Palace. Stephen S. is also the most expensive, $1,200. Oh my gosh, for two. Definitely a special occasion type of meal. Oh my god, yeah, that's insane. That's really, really insane. My friend used to be a big chef at this Michelin star place. I think it was Del Posto. It's no longer in operation. It's shut down. But he would tell me, it's like some of the tabs that would be run up at some of these business outings. He's like, I mean, easily it could be a $5,000 bill just on wine for the table. It's insane. But I guess some people have that much money to spend, particularly if it's on a corporate card, right? I mean, if you're taking out clients or something, multiple people. But like a several $1,000 wine bill, it's crazy. Now, where is crude oil trading at right now? I think crude oil is now significantly broken down, which is good when we're talking about inflation, but maybe a little bit of a negative as we think about economic growth. Hey, New England Crypto, what's going on? Wow, Steph UF says tea at the plaza was $200, including tip. I saw this crazy post on X today. So some guy went to, I think it was a football game, UNLV. I'm not a big college football guy, but I believe that's what the college was called. I think it was called UNLV. And he was sitting in one of the box, seats. I think it's like a skybox or whatever. And for one pizza, it was one pepperoni pizza, and I think it was like chicken wings or something. Just those two things alone came up to over $600. Now, granted, it was in the box, right? But that's crazy. $300 for pizza, $300 for chicken wings, and it wasn't a lot of food. It was a normal portion. Crazy. The post went viral today on X. He's like, I couldn't believe it. Stan says they play in the Raiders Stadium. It makes you think of what some of the bills cost for like the Super Bowl. I mean, imagine having box seats, like skybox seating for a Super Bowl. You're probably quite literally going to pay, who knows, maybe even $100,000 for the night. You never know. Wow, the Frank F9 says Taylor Swift is up here for 6 shows. The resale market is mind-boggling. I could imagine. Now, the numbers that Taylor Swift has been pulling is just unprecedented. I think from this most recent tour, there was an article in Bloomberg that she's going to bring in over $1 billion for this tour alone. That's incredible. It's incredible. Hey, what's up, Jamie? This is Good Evening, Tom and Chat. Prop 36 passed here in California, and I'm happy about that. Expand, tell us. For those of us who don't know what's going on over there in Cali, tell us your thoughts. Why should we be paying attention to it? Why is it relevant? What are your thoughts? Hey, what's up, Sherry? Good to see you. Here's a Tesla taxi. Now, in North Miami Beach and all throughout Miami, you have something called Freebie, which is a free ride hailing service with Teslas. So you have Tesla Model X, Tesla Model S, and they give you free rides all throughout Miami. I don't know how they stay in operation or make money, but it's free taxi service, which is crazy. No Self says, hey Tom, what do you think will happen to all the meme coins? People are literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars for investing in cute animals with nothing behind these projects. I don't really pay much attention to any of the meme stuff, to be quite honest. Now, when I was in college, when I was a teenager, this was back, 2014? Did I dabble in a lot of that nonsense? Yeah. But I think as you get older and wiser, it's just not really worth my time. I personally wouldn't get involved in any of that, but I'm sure in the overall cycle, right, when you have a bull cycle in Bitcoin and crypto assets, you have irrational craziness, these random scam coins will go up a lot, but the vast majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people, will most certainly lose money trading all that stuff. So, not for me, to be honest, but I kind of like to equate it to shiny object syndrome, right? You see all these people, oh my gosh, this person's getting rich, my friend is getting rich, he made this much money, that much money, and then you kind of want to chase the shiny object. Being in the business for as long as I have, shiny object syndrome usually doesn't end well, right? I think if you can just be patient and stick to a systematic framework for investing over the long period of time, you're going to build wealth sustainably, right? A lot of that, pump and dump nonsense, yeah, you may get lucky once, but that's not a repeatable, scalable investment model, right? Particularly at a sizable AUM. So if you, want to trade your own account and dabble around in some of that stuff, okay, fine. But if you want to manage, other people's money, or maybe try to build your own track record to then raise money for a fund, it's unlikely that you're going to go to investors and saying, hey, I bought, Pepe the Frog coin, or, Noodles the Cat coin, and I made 1,000%. So write me a check for $1 million, and I'll do the same for you. Right? That's not you can't duplicate that. Right? If you're raising money for a fund, they're going to say, okay, show us your audited track record by an accountant or a CPA, number one, right? And prove to us, oh, look at that thing. And prove to us that you can replicate your strategy at a sizable AUM, right? Because size kills performance, generally speaking. So if you're, made all your money in, a $5 million market cap, scam coin, and if you're running, let's even say $50 million, $100 million, it's just not, you're not going to be able to replicate that strategy at that size. So, me personally, I just don't really pay attention to it. I think the opportunity is just so massive in other things that are established. So I try not to get suckered into the FOMO, I guess. This is now looking up at 432 Park. Hey, Green 007, what's going on? Neighbor Bob. Oh yeah, that's right, that was the Back to the Future thing. Got it. Yeah, NBA Elias' Tom Hertz is selling Teslas for around $18,000 to $25,000. Good value for whoever wants one. There's a lot of unhappy Tesla customers that bought in the last 2 years because Elon has really been slashing prices aggressively. I think the Model Y that you could have purchased, what was it, 2.5 years ago for maybe $70,000, you could buy that now at like $40,000 with the tax credit. But again, over the long term, that's the goal, right? Is to make EVs affordable for the masses. So it's always going to be very, very expensive at first. Then as production ramps up, as scalability ramps up, prices come down, which I think is good over the long term, to be quite honest. Tom M says would never touch a Tesla. I really want to buy the Cybertruck. Tesla Cybertruck looks great. I mean, Tesla stock looks great. I mean, we wrote a piece about this saying that Tesla bottomed in April, and I think Tesla, it's most certainly going to new all-time record highs. It's like 50 points away or 30% from a new record high. Leos is back then. 2021 and 2022 was the inflation high price due to supply chain issues as well. Now, did anybody see what Elon put out on X the other day? There was a customer, a current Tesla customer, that said, look, the problem with Tesla vehicles is there's no option for large families, right? Like a minivan, so to speak. And Elon just kind of replied to that comment, and he says, okay, we're on it. So it's quite possible that, down the line, Tesla could be maybe even converting the Cybertruck body into like a 7 or 8-seater minivan. I think that would be awesome. Ben says, Tom, buy a Tesla truck and put it at the New York airport. You'll have it paid off in no time. The Y has a 7-seater. This is 57th Street now. Mr. Evans says, no. The Cybertruck looks like it was designed by a 6 or 7-year-old kid. Now, regardless of what you think about the design, many of you hate it, many of you like it. But one thing that we could all agree on is when a Cybertruck drives by, everybody stops, looks, and takes a photo of it. Whether they like it, whether they hate it or not. The Tesla Cybertruck breaks necks. People always stop to look at it. And that's the marketing in and of itself. They always say, what's the old saying? Any press is good press or something like that? The Mighty Bull says the Cybertruck looks like something from 1984. Hope it's not our feature or future. Yeah, love is kind. It's the same way people will not stop looking at a car crash, which makes traffic like crazy. Someone says, why doesn't Tesla have much competition in the market? Well, I think they do have a lot of competition in the market. Domestically, right here in the United States, it's not profitable for like Ford or GM to make an EV. It's very, very unprofitable, right? Tesla, I mean, having the margins that Tesla has on its EVs are really unheard of, and I think that's one of the many reasons why the stock trades at a premium. I mean, if you compare the margins on a Tesla car to, let's say, the average gross margin for Ford or GM, right? Single digits maybe. Tesla has double-digit margins going higher. Obviously, 2022, I would say the second half of 2023, Tesla saw margin compression, obviously because they were cutting prices. Those margins are going to go back up. But I would say, generally speaking, it's just not profitable to make EVs, aside from Tesla. Tesla is really the only one that is doing it profitably. This is West 56th Street now. Now, speaking of EVs, you know what I saw the other day? I saw one of those EV, what do you call it? Rolls-Royce cars, or the EV model Rolls-Royce, which was insane. Jackass says, why do you think margins will go back up for Tesla when they have been falling? They have been going back up. I mean, if you looked at the last 3 earnings reports for Tesla, margins have been going back up, and we've written about this extensively. Not only in their EV business, but across the board on the services business, across the board in the energy storage and power generation business. Margins are screaming higher, and that's what put a bottom in the stock. I mean, we wrote an entire thesis about this. I emailed it to everybody in April. I said, look, you now have a cycle where margins have bottomed. They're going higher. You have the fastest growing business segment for Tesla is the storage business and the energy business. 50% year-over-year revenue growth on 35% margins. I mean, that's going to be a multi-billion-dollar business for Tesla alone. So even if, you know, a lot of analysts out there will say, you know, the EV business of Tesla is a scam. Okay, fine, I'll give it to you. Let's say it is, right? Look at all the other businesses, right? Storage, services. If you think about, you know, Optimus, if you think about Robotaxi, those could quite possibly be standalone, you know, multi-billion-dollar businesses for Tesla. Multi-billion-dollar businesses. But I think one of the main reasons why those margins went down, kinks in the supply chain, cost cutting, and it's interesting, like these analysts, right, at these big banks that cover the stock, you know, they get paid big bucks, you know, maybe, you know, $400,000, $500,000. And it's like, don't you just like read what Elon puts out? I mean, he telegraphed this would happen. He said we're going to have a temporary margin contraction because we're going to try to make prices more affordable. And he even said that that's going to upset a lot of people. He said we're going to have to cut prices, which is going to put significant pressure on gross margins. And he said at the back end of 2024 into 2025, you'll have margin expansion again. I mean, he said this, but you still have analysts on the street that are saying, yeah, you know, we have no idea when they'll be able to go back up, or, you know, we don't think they're going to go. We don't think margins will ever recover to where they were. It's like, dude, you have a cushy job, you're making $400,000. You know, how about you just read the documents? Hey, Football Shane, thank you so much for your $2 donation. This is Tom, is the World Trade Center visible from where you are? It should be. I think we have to cross the other side of the street. But if you look all the way down here, you can see the spire of the World Trade Center. And this is the Steinway Tower. You could also see Radio City Music Hall too. But if you go to our Substack, if you want to read this, if you scan the QR code on your screen, it's going to take you to our Substack. If you go to the article we published in April, I laid out and I took screenshots from Tesla's investor deck and the forward-looking statements from the conference call that directly telegraphed where margins were going. I forget the exact date of the article, but it was one of the articles in April. Maybe I'll try to link it on my Twitter page. But Elon came on the conference call and said this. He said we're going to have some short-term, I think the descriptive term he used was volatility in margins, margin compression. And then he said the back end of 2024, you're going to have margins tick up again, and then they're really going to explode going into 25 and 26. So we publish all of our research every other Thursday after the market close, and we just sent it out this Thursday, by the way, which we did a pretty big piece on Charles Schwab, the broker-dealer, and some similarities with Robinhood that's now emerging out of a stage 1 IPO base, and Coinbase as well. Right? Speaking of Charles Schwab, it's right across the street. But the interesting thing with Schwab, right, was a major disruptor on Wall Street, really forced commissions near zero, and you're starting to see, a new millennial Gen Z style broker-dealer business emerging with Robinhood and now Coinbase for what I like to call the next wave of finance, which is cryptocurrencies and the like. So check out our bull thesis on Robinhood and Coinbase following a similar growth trajectory as Charles Schwab when Schwab went public in the 1980s. This is 53 West 53rd Street, so beautiful building. Anyway, you can scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, or type !news, NEWS in the chat. I see Patrice 2020. What's going on? Thank you so much. Hey, Madison32, what's going on? This is Tom. Bluebird Corporation, BLBD, makes electric-powered school buses. Huh. Interesting. I'll have to take a look into that. Peter's new lithium EV battery is being created called LFP, or lithium ion phosphate-based EV batteries. These will slowly replace the current nickel, magnesium, cobalt batteries. Lithium ones don't catch fire. Peter, didn't you send me something the other day where the vast majority of new batteries for EVs are going to be made just from recycling the old ones or something like that? I could have sworn that was you. They said we've hit some sort of a critical mass where all of the older EVs that are now being trashed, we could just start recycling the parts and using them for the new modern battery technology. I could have sworn that was you. Maybe it wasn't. This is the halal guys here. Brad says Hood had a very nice day today, up almost 3 points. Now, I think Coinbase also had a pretty good day today, too. I think that stock was up almost 7% on the day. There was some news that the CEO of Coinbase had a meeting with President-elect Trump. I don't know how true that is, but I saw that come across the feed. Peter says the old batteries will be used in homes, not EVs. Hang with Mark Mom, what's going on? Good to see you. Hey, Patient Lobsters says greetings from Israel. Cheers. NBA Elias says, Tom, the inevitable happened. Spirit Airlines filed for bankruptcy today. Not sure how long they will stay in business. Spirit is just a no-go zone for me. I've always said I will never take the megabus ever again, and I will never, ever, ever fly Spirit, ever. I honestly think it's dangerous. You're putting yourself in danger if you fly Spirit. Not because the plane is going to crash or anything, but just the people. Every time you hear a horror story about, something bad happening on a plane, it's happening on Spirit. Whatever it is about the Spirit customers, they're fighting, they're threatening each other, causing all types of problems. And I definitely don't want any fights or threats 30,000 feet in the air. Desi says, I agree about Spirit. They're wild. Every time you have Spirit, it's very, very dangerous. You also had that big case that came out with the flight attendants complaining, saying that the working conditions were unsafe. So the Spirit Airlines flight attendants came out and pretty much wrote a manifesto complaining to the CEO of the company, saying, you're putting us in danger and giving us terrible working conditions. Chinatown buses, you're making broad generalization about Spirit passengers. No, I'm not. The company just filed for bankruptcy. Are you not keyed into what we're talking about? The company is so poorly run. It's such a piss poor company that they filed for bankruptcy. So if you have a company that doesn't care about its employees, according to its own flight attendants, right, that wrote essentially a manifesto to the CEO saying, hey, we are not comfortable with our own working conditions. Is that a company you want to support? Not me. I want to support a company that takes care of its employees, provides a safe environment for the flight attendants, provides a safe environment for the customers. So, and that's the free market speaking. The company filed for bankruptcy. Doesn't have anything to do with generalizations. Numbers don't lie. The company's bankrupt. It's not me. I'm just reporting the news. All right, let's make a left here. And we'll check out the ice skating rink at Rockefeller Center. It's almost kind of the same thing that's happening right now at Starbucks, right? The reason why you're seeing such a big unionization effort for Starbucks is because the corporate company, is not providing a safe work environment for the employees. So when you have the stores turn into homeless encampments, and this isn't my words, you can read the documents, right? In the actual union filings, that is what the employees are saying. They're saying, we signed up to be baristas. We did not sign up to be mental health counselors. We did not sign up to be security guards. And we did not sign up to be violently assaulted at our jobs. That's why you have this big push for unionization at Starbucks. And now they've ousted the CEO. We have a new CEO who is the former CEO of Chipotle, who is going to address those problems, right? And look at Starbucks stock over the last 5 years. It's just now turning around because the company is addressing those problems. So essentially it's a very easy equation, right? When the corporate structure provides an uncomfortable working environment, puts its own employees in danger, thus putting its own customers in danger, well, what happens to the financials of a company, right? It tends to go down and head towards bankruptcy. Now, I don't think Starbucks will ever trend towards bankruptcy. You know, the new CEO, which is the former CEO of Chipotle, is going to turn the company around. But that is what happens. You know, again, many of you may think I'm being hyperbolic or making generalizations. I'm quite literally repeating the words, and this is all publicly available information, by the way, of their own employees. Right? Look at some of the union filings. That's what they say. We don't feel safe. We're getting assaulted by customers. The bathrooms are so unsafe. We don't want to have to deal, with picking up heroin needles, then have to go back and make someone's coffee, right? So this is me. This is the filings. Hey, Shane, thank you so much for your very generous donation. This is, hey, Tom, what color is the Empire State Building? I'm not too sure, but what I will do is I will walk to the Empire State Building and make sure we get a good shot of it tonight so we could find out what color it is. But I honestly don't know. But thank you for your generous donation. Miss Bunny Girl 69 says, where are these Starbucks at? I've never been to a Starbucks with those bad of conditions. San Francisco, New York, Chicago, LA, Buffalo, New York. You could just do a quick Google search, right? And look at the filings for the unionization effort. And the union leads are, they tell you the store number, they tell you the store location, and they say, we demand better working conditions. And honestly, I don't blame them. I honestly don't blame them. If I was a barista at Starbucks and I'm being put in a dangerous situation, I'm going to unionize and demand better working conditions. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. Ben says Washington, Oregon, etc. Anyway, here we are now at Rockefeller Center. I know. Alan says, I want to know how much Chase paid for that advertisement on the ice. That's a good question. The rink looks pretty good. I still can't get over how they're not going to have the Saks Fifth Avenue display anymore. It's kind of a bummer. Hey, Stuart Evans, is that the huge Christmas tree up? Yeah, there it is. That's the beautiful Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Who Dat Dave is here. Says, hey, Tom, my daughter worked at the Starbucks on Columbus Circle in Manhattan and had hundreds of stories of homeless coming in and harassing other customers. That's terrible, man, that she had to go through that. Lisa's Starbucks at Astor Place. closed after nearly 30 years due to issues related to homelessness and other factors. Yeah, and that was that's a massive, massive location that's adjacent from Wegmans, I believe. That was one of the worst ones, to be honest. I'm very familiar with that one. And it's unfortunate because the landlord at that building lost a major, major anchor tenant. I mean, I could only imagine how much Starbucks was paying in rent. Those big, like a Starbucks, that's what you would call an anchor tenant. Essentially meaning there's a very, very low probability that Starbucks would not pay their rent, right? It's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Starbucks is going to pay the rent, right? But a little, mom-and-pop bakery, well, maybe they would have problems paying the rent. This is a really awesome view here. Desi says, why are they not having the display? Well, they're not having the display, I believe, because there was no sponsor this year to sponsor it, which is really unfortunate. Lee says, in 2013, Starbucks closed 16 stores after reviewing employee complaints about store safety. The company cited chronic homeless issues, substance abuse, and social unrest. Now, here's another interesting question. Do you think that the employees have the right to sue Starbucks for those conditions? Yes or no? I'm not going to disclose how I feel about it, but to think about it for a second. If you are an employee at Starbucks and you have, unwell people coming in and threatening you every day, that's not what you signed up for, right? You put in an application to be a barista and serve coffee. You didn't put in an application to be threatened and, act as, asset protection for the store. That's not in your job description. Steve says no. Reggie says no. Kaz says if they reported enough, yes. It's an interesting question, and, I think that's why you're going to start to see bigger crackdowns on this stuff. Nina says no employee contractual agreement and read both agreed terms. Oh, Peter, the Lotte Tower is lit. Let's check it out. Who Dat Dave says, Tom, if they have alerted management and management has done nothing about it and something escalates, then yes, they are welcome to sue. Kat says they're supposed to tell you to not engage and stay behind the bar in the stores. That's true, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a little bit on the fence about it. I think that if you bring it up to management escalates it and the problem doesn't change and it impacts you to the point that it has already impacted some of these employees, I think there's grounds for that. I think there are grounds to sue the company. And guys, this is pretty broad-based. I want everybody to check out Walgreens Boost Alliance, ticker symbol WBA. So if you just go to your Bloomberg terminal, tradingview.com, or just Google and just type in WBA and check out the monthly chart for Walgreens, tell me what you see, right? Then type in ticker symbol CVS and tell me what you see. What I see is, and unfortunately so, a dying business due to abnormal how should I frame this? I'll say broad-based, weak-on-crime policies, right? There's been significant store closures at Walgreens, CVS, due to retail shrinkage, which is corporate speak for theft, right? If you ever walked into a drugstore like CVS, Rite Aid, Duane Reade, Walgreens. I think Rite Aid is no longer in existence. They've essentially been shoplifted out of business. But Walgreens, Walgreens, Duane Reade, and CVS in a major city, everything is locked up behind plexiglass. I was in CVS the other night, and I'm like, damn, even the beef jerky is behind the plexiglass now. So what does that do to customer experience, right? That's a degradation on customer experience, which puts friction in the transaction. And as we know, Jeff Bezos spent multiple millions of dollars to do a study on friction and customer satisfaction. That's why if you ever shopped on Amazon, now you have the one-click buy now button. The more friction you put in between the customer and the transaction, the more likely they are to abandon the cart, so to speak. So if you have to go into a CVS to buy toothpaste, it's behind plexiglass. You have to click the little customer service button, wait for an employee to walk halfway across the store to unlock the little plexiglass to get your toothpaste out. Then, let's say, I need a box of cereal. Okay, you go downstairs, you go to the cereal section, whoops, plexiglass again. You got to press the little customer service button. The guy has to come back, unlock it again, and then you're like, okay, I finally got that. All right, now I need toilet paper. Oops, you got to press the button again. So that 30-minute ordeal to get 3 items. Is it easier to go on Amazon and have a little guy deliver it to your house in 24 hours? Or do you want to stand in line and have somebody unlock it with plexiglass? Right? So those policies are destroying businesses. They will go out of business. Walgreens will go bankrupt. It's an $8 stock on its way to zero. It will go to zero. Okay? Now, somebody may buy it out, right? It may do a restructuring in bankruptcy, but it is going to go to zero. Okay? Along with all of the other drugstores. And it's not just the theft, right? I don't want to make it seem like it's just the theft that's putting them out of business. It's just the Amazon effect of everything. E-commerce, online commerce in general is what is, I should say, the new wave. So if you can't have a positive customer experience while you're already up against a massive seismic shift in how people transact in commerce, there's no hope. You will go out of business. All right, guys, this is the Lotte New York Palace that looks beautiful. Pineapple Waters is when they go to zero, where you're going to get your immediate RX from your MD. Probably Amazon. I think Amazon acquired PillPack back in the day. And they'll probably be like online drugstores. It probably won't go away 100%. You'll always have some sort of brick and mortar, but as a percentage of the marketplace, it's going to trend towards zero over time, I think. I mean, this looks really beautiful. What do you guys think? Type username says shrink isn't what is doing the retail pharmacy. Margin on RX side decreasing. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a combination of those, but I guess the overarching point is if brick and mortar is in decline or at threat from e-commerce, and on top of that you're making it the in-store experience just impossible, you don't even have a shot. Like there's no shot now. Wow, what do you guys think? Hey, what's up, Action Kid? This is Walgreens has a 12% forward dividend yield. The classic dividend trap. Same thing with AT&T. Hey, Dr. Murray Hill, MD. This is, I believe, the lobby of the Palace Hotel is also a privately owned public space. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's awesome inside. Let me try to go through here. I just don't know if we could film inside, but sometimes when the gate is open, we go in. They always do such an amazing job. Monkey Teeth says Amazon and Walmart both fill RXs. I've been extremely impressed with Walmart over the past 5 years. I'm not sure about anybody else, but when I was growing up, the stigma around Walmart was not very good. But now that I go into Walmart Supercenter stores in Miami, they are like the best, in my opinion. I've said this once before. You know how Jim Cramer always says, you know, Apple's one of those stocks that you don't trade, you just own it? I truly believe the same thing for Walmart. They have such a massive stranglehold on the market, and I think the biggest value... Oh, is that a Lucid? No, right? That was a Genesis? For some reason, the grill of that car looked like Lucid. But anyway, I love Walmart. They have everything, and their produce has improved so significantly. It's a great, great place to shop, and I thought I would never hear myself saying that ever. If you look at their most recent earnings report, they're actually stealing market share from Whole Foods customers, or from Whole Foods, right? They're able to pry away Whole Foods customers to Walmart because it's not that big of a difference, to be quite honest. There is a difference, but it's not that big for me to pay a massive premium to go to Whole Foods. Walmart is pretty good. At least the Walmart near me in Miami. I mean, what do you guys think, generally speaking, about Walmart? Ben says, Tom, Walmart pharmacy is good because they accept state and federal assistant healthcare payments. Peter says, Costco pharmacy is outstanding and very low prescription drug prices. Pineapple Water says, Tom, then all hospitals need to obtain a retail license to dispense meds immediately if you need BP or pain meds because there is no waiting a day. Yeah, I don't think it'll go away totally, but it is trending towards zero, unfortunately. Timothy James says, Tom, have you ever mentioned Wegmans? Oh, you have mentioned Wegmans. Have you ever shopped there? I have. I think Wegmans is fantastic. I believe there's now 2 Wegmans locations in New York City. One in the Brooklyn Navy Yard and one adjacent from that Astor Place Starbucks that closed down due to the poor working conditions. But yeah, I mean, think about the moat, right? Warren Buffett talks about having a moat. Let's just cross the street by the Lotte New York Palace. I don't think they have any of the Christmas decorations in the lobby yet. I think it is getting there. Black Ribbon says, hey, Tom, I love your take. Happy to hear your take on Walmart. I love it. Every time I'm in Miami, I shop at Walmart. It's awesome. And the shopping experience is so easy. Maybe anecdotally, it's just maybe my local Walmart in Miami, but the employees are great. They're super happy. They seem like excited to be there. It seems like they're treated well. Very well-run stores. The stores are super clean. So, I don't know. Now, I mean, this is really a good lesson in corporate management as well, right? Costco. Costco is a machine of a business, and they treat their employees well, and they compensate them quite fairly and handsomely, right? I hear Costco, in terms of like employee benefits, are fantastic in terms of the medical care, just the overall hourly pay And the turnover, the employee turnover at Costco is some of the lowest in the industry, from what I hear. So maybe there's some sort of a model, right? Or maybe there's some sort of a coincidence that the rest of corporate America can follow. If you pay your employees a living wage, right? And if you treat them fairly, and if you create a safe environment, well, maybe the employees will be happy to show up to work, and they'll have a smile on their face, and they'll do really, really good work and make customers happy, thus increasing profitability, thus increasing same-store sales, thus increasing shareholder value. So it's a win-win-win all around. Just saying, I mean, Hang with Mark Mom says, Tom, Costco definitely needs to step up their checkout lines. And at the door, there's huge lines that are leaving. Well, that's because they check everybody's receipts or something, right? And they also have to check your ID, something along those lines. I've only been to Costco a handful of times. I don't have a membership. I've went with a family member who had a membership, but I think before you enter the store, there's somebody that checks your Costco ID, and they also maybe check it again at the counter, which may holds up things. Pineapple Water says the retired CEO of Costco is one of the best. His model is superior. Oh, and he is brilliant. NBA Elias says Walmart is quietly becoming an underrated data company with Walmart Data Ventures. Agreed, NBA Elias. And I think the biggest, when Warren Buffett talks about a big moat, right? Think about the distribution centers, right? Just the 3PL, the logistics and the distribution. That's where the core business is. It's so hard to replicate that. And I've always said, who's going to win in grocery and who's going to win consumers over in the future is going to be same-day delivery, very fast and efficient in-store pickup, and at-home delivery for produce, right? And think about, don't even think about the Walmart stores for a second, right? Think about the Walmart distribution centers, the massive network. It's like a masterclass in 3PL. It's unbelievable. And Walmart has done that better than anybody else. And probably a second runner-up is Amazon, right? Obviously, Amazon owns Whole Foods, and Amazon does delivery better than pretty much anybody else. But think about a new competitor wanting to come into that space. It's almost impossible. I mean, how do you compete with the likes of a Walmart, right? With their distribution centers all over the United States. You really, really can't compete with that. Tim says you scan in your ID at Costco. It's very quick and easy. Jack says Walmart destroyed cities. I believe when Michael Bloomberg was the mayor, he banned Walmart. Jules says, hey Tom, I worked at Walmart when I was younger, and it had the best customer service model. Also a nice place to work too. Love that. Hopefully you're doing well. All right, let me catch up on some of these. Pineapple Water says, Tom, just an FYI, you do not need to be a member at Costco to use their pharmacy. I didn't know that. Really? You don't need to be a member of Costco to use the pharmacy? But you do need a membership to just shop for regular items, I'm assuming. Let's check out some of the Christmas lights here. And let me catch up on some of the comments. Running at altitudes of Sam's Club has a better efficiency with scan and go, no checkout. Sam's Club is under the Walmart umbrella as well. Tina D says Kroger is trying to get in the market of grocery delivery. I mean, Kroger is a powerhouse. What's the other one that's like a huge, huge powerhouse? Man, why am I blanking on this name? Is it Albertsons? I don't remember. Am I saying something totally unrelated? Why does Albertsons come to mind? Is that a thing? I don't know why I just said that. I feel like it is, right? Albertsons, yeah. That's why. Yeah, Kroger and Albertsons potentially merging. Got it. Huh. Maybe that's why it sparked my memory. Allen's is Aldi. I think Aldi, is it Aldi? I don't know. But I think that's another one of those, more affordable stores that has been getting progressively better over the years. Tomahawks is Publix. Well, Publix has a huge stranglehold in Florida. Wow, look at this. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these every day starting at 8:45. Gracie S., good to see you. Paul says, Tom, Market Basket is my favorite. It's very well run and has amazing staff. Let's cross to the north so we can see the other side of the building. What do you guys think? Looks pretty unique, right? Solid. Oh, Aldi is German. Is from Germany. Wow. Very cool. And I think pretty soon, all up and down Fifth Avenue, you're going to have these setups too. I think from back here it looks even better. Wow. Looks really beautiful. It almost looks like a galaxy. It doesn't really look like Christmas. It looks like a planetarium on the side. DC322 says, oh, we forgot Wegmans. Wegmans is awesome, particularly for prepared food. I'm so glad we have a Wegmans now in Manhattan, right at Astor Place. But that one is really expensive, I'm not going to lie. It's like very, very expensive. And I'm never really down that way anyway, so... DC322 says Wegmans is based in Rochester, New York. I believe the founder is Danny Wegman. But yeah, you're right. There's tons of stores all throughout upstate New York. There's one at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and now there's one right in Manhattan, which is great. Dr. Murray Hill, MD's hot take, Wegmans Ultimate Cheesecake is better than Junior's. I've never had it, honestly. I'll have to take a screenshot of that and try it. But guys, the big topics of the night, obviously NVIDIA is going to be reporting earnings this week. It's going to be a massive, massive earnings print. We're going to get existing home sales from the National Association of Realtors. And we have some breaking news out of the NASDAQ. Apparently, as early as tomorrow, you're going to have options trading, derivative trading on spot Bitcoin ETFs, such as IBIT. And I think that's going to grow into one of the most liquid options markets out there. Because right now, everyone is trading options on MicroStrategy, which is like the proxy asset to get hedging exposure to Bitcoin, essentially. So huge, it's a massive, massive liquid options market on MicroStrategy. And now that options are going to launch on the spot Bitcoin ETFs, I think that's going to be massive, massive for the space. There was some rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, that the Trump administration has contacted Larry Fink at BlackRock for some meetings over the course of this week, which makes sense because President-elect Trump is in the Trump Tower. I think he was here for the UFC 309 event with John Jones. So we'll see. Is he going to talk about, maybe some interesting picks? Is Howard Lutnick going to be in the mix somewhere for Treasury? I don't know. We'll see. I would probably say yes. Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. I would highly, highly recommend watching the most recent digital assets conference in Miami put on by Cantor Fitzgerald. This was about 3 or 4 days ago. You could watch it for free online. Invaluable information, and I think, it's weird. The whole conference, I think, only has like 200,000 views. That should have millions and millions of views. That kind of lets you know how early we are in the whole cycle here. So check out, there was tons of guest speakers. You had, obviously, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. You had the CEO of MicroStrategy giving a keynote speech. So check it out. If you just go to YouTube, you type in Cantor Fitzgerald Miami 2024, it'll pop up. Great keynote. Joel PM says, I thought BTC already volatile, now on a pile of derivatives. Oh boy. Well, BTC is a tiny, tiny little flea of an asset, right? Even though we did flip silver, it's only about 1.5 trillion bucks, right? In the grand scheme of the whole financial world, that's still really nothing. So right now, right, if you get exposure to Bitcoin, you essentially have roughly 5x vol for, if you look at the KGAR of Bitcoin, it's 46% annually over the last 7 years. We won't go to its inception because that's kind of like obvious, right? Starting from zero. So if you're willing to accept higher vol for outsized returns, I think it deserves a spot in the portfolio, particularly if you're younger. Because if you're indexed to the S&P, you just get traditional S&P vol. But if you want to get more risk on, let's say if you're a little bit younger, maybe allocate 5-10% of the portfolio to Bitcoin, yeah, you're going to have to stomach more volatility, but you also get, I would put it this way. You get leverage without having to have a risk of a margin call. That's kind of how I view Bitcoin. Now look at this, everybody. This is the Louis Vuitton flagship store. Very unique. Look at that. How cool is that? Super, super creative. I Want to Be GMOs says, did BNY Mellon forward their custody exemption? What do you mean forward? Well, they have the exemption. So BNY Mellon is the only big bank that is able to essentially forego the SOB 121. If you guys are kind of interested in the regulatory framework around Bitcoin, we published a pretty extensive piece in the Behind the Street newsletter on Thursday. You could scan the QR code on your screen, punch in your email, or you could just type !news, NEWS, in the chat, and you'll be able to check it out and read it. But I think there's going to be a huge shakeup at the SEC. I think Gary Gensler's going to be out of there, and it's going to open up a whole other business segment for big banks, right? Once banks are able to custody Bitcoin, they're going to be able to collateralize the asset. Just like if you're an ultra high net worth individual or a high net worth individual, and let's say if you have $20 million worth of Microsoft stock, well, you don't want to sell your Microsoft shares, right? That would be crazy. You don't want to pay the tax, and you are very bullish on the future of Microsoft as a company. So you can go to your banker and say, hey, I want to buy this, $3 million piece of property in, Los Angeles, California. I want to post some of my Microsoft stock as collateral, and you give me the money to go purchase that asset, and I'll pay you back, right? You'll be able to do the same thing with Bitcoin down the line. That's one of the predictions that I have, because again, regardless of what some of these CEOs of these mega banks think, once the SEC gives the green light and provides clear regulatory framework, once one bank starts to do it, every bank has to offer it to its customers just to stay competitive, right? And that's going to be a huge, huge business in and of itself. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, you can check out our Behind the Street newsletter. This is a cool kind of holiday decorative, I should say, display on Louis Vuitton. Kind of this giraffe, and I don't know what that other thing is. Ostrich, maybe? It's quite interesting. Let me see if I could zoom in. Joel PM says, how is that going to work? Do you trust your bank with your digital wallet? No, so they would just custody and hold the private key. So it's similar, like MicroStrategy right now. And I would probably never do this, by the way. Maybe I would. But I'm more of a purist, so to speak, as it relates to Bitcoin. I self-custody. But like MicroStrategy, right? The crazy company that is, essentially issuing debt to go buy Bitcoin. I think they just bought like 15,000 Bitcoin just over the last week. They don't self-custody. I think they have Coinbase custody their Bitcoin. So essentially they hold the private keys and it acts as a custody. Hey, Melissa Banks says, why didn't Saks do their light display this year? Apparently they couldn't get a sponsor for it, which kind of sucks. So they couldn't find somebody to essentially sponsor the cost of putting on that display, which I'm going to be, quite frank. I think it's just not going to be the same. Fifth Avenue in New York City is so awesome during the holidays. It's just not going to be the same without the holiday display. It's really not. Mock E says, Tom, do you ever do any business near Vernon Boulevard? I love Queens. Sometimes, I think I recently just priced out a deal on a parking garage. Was it Vernon Boulevard or was it... I gotta look. Yeah, Jack says, remember 2008 when banks were selling mortgage debt wrapped up into products they couldn't even explain? That went well. Well, the only good thing that came out of 2008 was better regulatory scrutiny. This is the Four Seasons Hotel, finally opened again. And better underwriting standards. Right, the problem with '08, right, was a lot of that subprime nonsense. So you had a ton of, subprime debt out there, wrapped up into these tranches that passed as A grade or AAA by the ratings agencies. But there's not a lot of that out there anymore, thank God. I think we learned a lot of lessons from 2008. And the good thing now about the housing market is that by and large, most people have a lot of equity built. And I think there's almost 40% of homeowners in the United States right now have zero debt. So it's kind of hard to default on debt you don't have, which is really, really good. I think that's one of the reasons why the housing market has held up as well as it's held up, given that interest rates are relatively high, right? Comparing it to the last 12 years, usually you would see, interest rates go up, right? The Federal Reserve would go into a tightening cycle and real estate valuations would crater. We haven't really seen that. They've come down slowly, but many people were predicting a 2008 style crash. Well, the reason why that didn't happen is because the people who do have mortgage debt, it's at a 30-year fixed rate and it's under 4%. So factoring in inflation, it's pretty much free money, right? Manageable payments, fixed payments, not a lot of arms out there. There's some, adjustables out there, but not as much as there were in 2008. So people, generally speaking, are pretty well capitalized. It's either they have a significant amount of equity or the debt that they do have is manageable at very, very low fixed rates. Let's see what's down here. It's 432 Park. Rishi says, hey Tom, there was a Forbes article, Saks Fifth Avenue's finances show a conflicting picture. Yeah, it's just a bummer that they're not going to be able to do it this year. Gemma says, anyone have a good place to travel for the holidays? New York. New York is a great place. Anyway, guys, it is getting late, but I do want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I think we had a lot of interesting and fun conversations. Hopefully, as the days progress, we'll be able to get down to Lower Manhattan. But if you enjoyed the stream tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. If you like this financial talk, feel free to check out our investing newsletter, Behind the Street. You can sign up by scanning the QR code on your screen, punching in your email, and we just sent it out on Thursday. We covered a lot. But until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. So Austin City Limits, Leslie, Connie Ruiz, Middle Age Grind, John, Hang with Mark Mom, Rishi, NBA Elias, Reggie 44, Jack, thank you so much. Appreciate you. NBA Elias, Unij 23, Professor Dario, NMB 45, thank you so much. Dale, Jack again, cheers to you. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:45. I'll leave you off with the cool shot of 432. No Self, thank you so much. Muhammad, thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow.